Know it? Is this what you want? Happy now? Yeah, that's what you wanted. Honestly. Hi, everybody. Um, welcome to this overstuffed house. I was gone all weekend. I didn't mean to disappear on you on Thursday night, but my back was seizing up, and I got ordered to bed by the mother hen that is Michael. And these three have been following me since I got home. Took a nap. They slept in the bed with me. They followed me to the basement. They followed me into the bathroom for a shower. They followed me into the kitchen for food. My oh my. So I have survived my first Boy Scout trip that I've been able to take since, other than summer camp. That was the first trip I've been on since 2019. So I'm extremely happy and really de-stressed. It's nice. It's so nice. So I know this isn't my usual time to be on, but I had a couple of emails and one or two messages from people worried because I didn't appear on Thursday like I was supposed to. Um, Dealing with these 12-year-olds is driving me crazy. In the truth, what do you see? Did you see another moth or something for you to eat because you're crazy? The gray one that you're seeing part of is Aragorn. And if he catches moths, he eats them. He's not wrapped too tight. Hi, Linda. Yes, you're the one with the smooth brain. Everything just rolls right off it. And now yeah. I set up, and then like 5 minutes before I was to film, he decides to hop up and sit right there. There he goes. And Elron decided it was time to just curl up in mom's arms. He'll go to sleep. So he usually does. Oh, you see yourself. Yeah, that's you. That's you. That's you. Look, you can see yourself on Michael's monitor too. Oh, I don't know that he knows how to do that. Not sure you like that? It's okay. You're all right. Oh, here we go with the paws to the face. So he's in his happy place right now. This is Elron's happy place. To be and he flips himself over. I never did that with him. He just decided that this is how he wants. He flips himself over in my arms so that I can rub his throat. And then he'll eventually just stick his head up on my elbow and he'll go to sleep. Though usually I end up with a paw on my face with him doing biscuits on my chin. Yes, silly boy. So, but with the messages and emails worried about me for Thursday, they were afraid that I'd had a bad relapse or something. What are you staring at? I don't know what you see. There's nothing on the floor. So, so I thought, well, I better, like I said in the little short that I did this morning, that I'd try to pop on at 10 o'clock tonight and say hi. Hi, Sherry. And I've had a nap. I've had a shower. I'm ready to go to bed. It was a long and busy weekend, but it was fabulous. The property we went to was 85 acres on the side of a mountain. We were all the way up around Wilkes-Barre, PA, which is, you go too much further north and you're going to hit the New York border. So we were all the way at the top of eastern PA. My dad's family is from around Wilkes-Barre. Wilkes-Barre, Ellisburg, Catawissa, all those little towns up there. And I know up there, the big hospital's Geisinger. It's a teaching hospital. My cousin used to work there. But that's the area. Gorgeous area up there. And hello, Warren. And the property is just amazing. Absolutely amazing. It's 2.5 hour drive, most of it highway driving. And that part was fine. It's the longest I've driven since before my accident. So by the time we got to the end of it, my right leg was tired out because no real muscle mass yet. Strength of stamina. Got some strength, but not stamina back in a lot of muscle areas. But I'm getting there. The fact that I could drive that far at all is great. That's miles away from where I was 2 years ago. So we got there fine. I had a little problem. One with the GPS that kept saying I was looking for 81 north, yet the road sign said 81 east. But then once you get on it, then it's called 81 north. Why is that screwed up? Uh, so that one got me. And then when we went to find the road you turn off on, some jerk, excuse me, sir, was tailgating me for about 2 miles with their bright lights right in my face. I had to flip the rearview mirror. You had to flip it up to the ceiling a little bit so it just whoever's lights directly behind you doesn't shine directly in your eyes. I had to do that. And then I saw the turn and I couldn't slow down because this guy was literally, I started to slow down and they got so close that I realized that their headlights had disappeared behind the level of my trunk. That's how close this idiot was. So I just sped up again. And as soon as I saw a right turn, I turned and we waited for this idiot to pass us. And as soon as they could pass me, they floored it. What a jerk. I mean, we're on windy, dark roads where there's not many streetlights, if any. They're few and far between. And here's somebody who's obviously looking for something, and you didn't. There were two spots they could have passed me, and they chose not to. They just chose to tailgate me the whole way. So that one was not fun. Um, but we found it, and it is. I mean, it is. It's one of those things where it's far enough into the mountains. You're taking a dirt road to get there. You're getting off the main roads, and you're on a dirt road, and then it's a gravel driveway. I can't imagine what getting to that place is like in the wintertime. But it is just stunning views. You're on the top of the mountain. You can see the top of the other mountain if you're over, and the house is an actual log cabin, like a real, like look in the storybooks kind of log cabin. That surprised me. But the barn I stayed in was all made by them and the family and friends, all put together with wood milled and sawed right there, all wood from on the property. He was cutting up, oh, yes, he was cutting up a red oak while we were there. And if I could have fit any of those broad beams into my car to bring home, I would have. I would have. I'd have made a footstool for under my computer. I'd have tried to make a small box. I'd have done anything I could. The wood, the grain on that stuff is stunning. And the cost of getting that kind of wood. He's got maple, he's got birch, he's got oak, white oak and red oak. He's got cedar, and there's big slabs of it just stacked up at spots, and so it can just dry. It's just amazing. And the property they have their own shooting range that's of legally required size for 22s. So if we had people that were certified with the right certifications, we could actually do a shooting trip up there. We no longer have anybody with the certifications for that at the moment. Um, but they have that. They have a pond. The kids, half the kids worked really hard this weekend. So when it got to 4 o'clock, they were all kind of done with trying to figure out knots and lashings. So we said, all right, you know what? You've worked hard. It's 4 o'clock. We want you to have some fun. There is the pond, and it turns out that he has extra fishing rods. Well, and we're like, how does he have so many extra fishing rods? Well, it's because when all the grandkids are there, the rods are there. So they all went fishing, all 7 boys that ended up going with us. And they had a chance to fish for an hour. They loved it. They had a big bond. There's a big bonfire ring up by the cabin, the house that the grandparents live in, the log cabin, and they had a blast at this big bonfire. They thought that was the coolest thing too. So we've been invited back. He was quite happy to have us up there. So we've been in see if we could come back in the spring. So we're gonna see if we can fit it in because our calendar is made a year in advance. But we're gonna see if we can, at least for a fishing trip, get up there for the weekend. And then it's great because it's a trip I can go on because I can sleep in the bunkhouse. So that would be nice. So it was just an amazing place. And they have this thing called an ent walk. ENT, like the ents, the trees that can walk in the Lord of the Rings books. And he and his kids planted it. His sons and his daughter. And it's all these Norwegian pine, Norwegian spruce. And he figured, yeah, let the kids plant it, but the deer will probably eat it. Well, it turns out the deer don't eat that because the needles are too sharp. They don't like it. So the whole thing grew up. So there's this grove that goes for about half a mile. But when it goes down and then it turns, so there's one row of trees. Everything else on the edges is just kind of scattered. But there's 2 rows of trees that are they're probably about 4 feet apart. And they're all in a straight line. And it makes this perfect little path between all the trees. And then it just, towards the end, turns. And it goes apparently for quite a way. Hi, Val. Hey, Lorianne's here. Hello, hon. So I can't wait. I did not get a chance to go walk that trail, and I really want to walk that trail. They've got trails that they've made all over the 80 acres. So, and there's at least 4 areas because here, when they raise their kids, they raise them in Swarthmore, which is where another local troop is to us. So his sons are in the Swarthmore troop, and they used to go up there 3 or 4 times a year. And he said he'd be quite happy if we wanted to do the same, since his grandson's in our troop. I'm like, wow, okay. He would love to have us. I would love to be up there because that's a good place to do wilderness survival. But I don't want to do that in the fall. I would rather do that trip in the spring. Like May, maybe even in June. Because wilderness survival merit badge is you learn all this stuff that's wilderness survival that should you in some emergency be stuck where you have to, build a shelter or something and be stuck outside for some time. You have to know how to do that. You have to know the first thing you always need is a shelter because exposure will kill you long before hunger or thirst will. So you have to build a shelter and you have to sleep in it for one night. So I suggested, that to him, and I said, but what we need is a place where you could have the center camp of the kids who are not old enough to do that merit badge, and then have the ones that can be just little satellite areas in the woods around the main camp so that we know where they are and we can check on them. And if, something happens, then their tents are right there. So like we did it one year when Mike was a scout, and this lightning storm rolled in, and the older kids, Mike wasn't old enough to do it. It was one of our first trips, and the older teenagers were doing wilderness survival, And as soon as you could see this storm as it came across the top of the mountain, because it was coming across the different mountain range towards Ressick Falls Boy Scout Reservation. And as soon as the first crack of thunder and lightning went across our heads, the first two kids came back. They're like, nope, 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 nope. And we asked them why they were back so quick. Because we had a cabin, so they all came back to the bunk room in the cabin. And we said, well, why are you guys back so fast? It didn't even start raining yet. Well, here they had scrounged from, there had been a pile of debris from where they had demolished a shed at what had been the old dining hall up near where we were. And they had scrounged a piece of corrugated steel, and that was the roof of their shelter. And now here comes lightning, and they're sitting underneath a metal roof of this little shelter they built. They just went, no, nope, nope. They said, no, 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 no. They weren't gonna hang out under a chunk of metal in a lightning storm. So fair enough. And then it poured for about 2 hours that night, and there were 4 pairs of kids. Another one came back because their shelter in the rain, in the heavy rain, just collapsed. It just fell apart. It wasn't well put together. But the 2 other pairs, they stayed out and they got their merit badge because they did everything else. The other ones got their merit badge later on other trips, but not from that weekend. They had to do it again on different trips. It's kind of hard to get because you're often at places where you can't cut any branches or anything in order to make your shelter out of, because you're supposed to do it with things you find in the woods. So you're using things like vines of bittersweet or regular ivy if you find it. Do not use poison ivy for your vine. To use that to tie things up. You are sent with a tarp and a certain amount of rope. And how you choose to use it is completely up to you. So you're at least allowed that. You take water, you take a tarp, you take a rope, and of course you've got your pocket knife, and then you're on your own to figure it out. And you should have been taught all these other skills about how to build stuff and your lashings and all that. So you're getting all the training. The last thing you do when you do that merit badge is to actually spend the night outside in your shelter that you build. You don't get to do that part right off the bat. So we were working on pioneering, which is all about building things with rope and wood. And I just realized I didn't stop the TV. It's an old episode of Top Gear from season 14? A long while ago, because James May still has brown hair. Richard Hammond has hair down to his shoulders. And Jeremy Clarkson is still Jeremy Clarkson. I like them as the ones for Top Gear. I still think they're funny. I know Clarkson. You see it on the show. Clarkson can be a bit of a jerk, but the 3 of them together just make such a fun combination. And I like seeing some of the fancy cars. So, but the pioneering weekend, I was thrilled because for the first time in ages, since 2019, I've been able to go on a weekend scout trip. I love it. I loved it. I mean, the bonus was the fact that he made that bunk room sound like it was going to be, it's in the barn. That ain't like no barn I ever saw. It's more like a giant workshop with a tiny little room above. It's just, he kept calling it the barn, said it was the bunk room. It ain't nothing special. We just built some bunk beds out of 2x4s, and there is a small bed up there, And, and he said, and there's a cast iron wood stove. So I'm thinking old school, actual wood stove kind of thing. That's not a cast iron wood stove. That's a fireplace. That's a fireplace. I took a video, a real short one, to send to Mike because he's in Texas now for a week for training with Boy Scouts for his job. And I sent him a thing and I was showing him the fireplace, did like I did you guys, and I panned over and I showed the room and I'm like, oh, the hardships of this rustic bunk room in the barn I was told about, and how, it's just you gotta sleep in these bunk beds made out of 2x4s, and it's not very fancy, and it's really kind of rustic, and but it's, at least it's a bed, it'll be warm and you'll be fine. And yeah, I it was like sleeping in a B&B. It was great. It was great. Though I have to admit, this weekend I did do something I don't normally do. I drank coffee this weekend. It took a lot of sugar and 2 creamers. Ugh, it was, ugh. How do y'all drink that stuff? He had a Keurig machine in the room, and I was so kind of groggy Saturday morning, and I knew I had to be awake and alert from the minute I got there because um, it was my trip, and I was the one that had read up on all the pioneering stuff. So I had knew too that the word for the weekend, and I told the other 3 that were with me that the words for the weekend were going to be patience, focus, and what was the third? Patience, focus, and no, you can't do that. I knew what kids were going. And sure enough, there was a lot of no, you can't do that. There was one kid who I had to compliment him before we left this morning. I honestly told him, I said, I didn't think you liked being in Scouts because you rarely ever smile. And this trip, the minute we told you were allowed to cut stuff down, you've been grinning from ear to ear ever since. He had the most fun on this trip. And this is a kid who I really thought wasn't going to stick with scouting. And if he doesn't, then we lose. And we lose one of our brand new assistant scoutmasters. But he's like, well, I like it. He says, but sometimes it's just, it's not all fun stuff. And I'm like, well, no, but, you could smile a little more once in a while. So he and I had a chance to talk a little bit and find out that part of the problem is that he doesn't feel like there's just this little clique that he knows from school, and they're all really kind of, let's put it this way, they're all they're all starting to hit 13 now, but they all have not the maturity of a 13-year-old. And honestly, between 13 and 14, as I explained to one assistant scoutmaster, you're going to see a huge spurt in brain growth, because usually by the time they're 14, or at least halfway through their 14th year, there's a major shift in how they look at things in the world, because there's suddenly a new section of brain has connected in. Because, a kid's brain keeps growing until you're about 25. And you'll see major shifts in thinking at certain periods. I saw it with my nieces and with Mike. I saw it with Mike, and I've seen it with other kids as I've been with the scout troop for so long. And it's the younger ones that drive me crazy. So as soon as I got home, though, I started getting sore throats again. So it's definitely the dust allergies and probably cat allergy. Technically, I am allergic to cats, but usually it only bothers me if they're asleep on my pillow. To have enough light to film, I had to move the lamp over here so it wasn't directly behind me. I thought I could move it further over, but the cord's too short. So I gotta be careful not to knock this one over. So, how has everyone been this weekend? What? You're looking at me like I'm crazy. You know I do this downstairs once a week, talk to myself, right? Sir? Aragorn's over here just staring at me like, dude, I usually do this downstairs, not in Dad's room. Yes, are you in your dad's room? You're mommy's boy, though, really. You are such a mommy's boy. Anything upsets him. He's like, where's my mom? He comes hunting for me. The only one, Frodo likes to sleep in the kitchen on the cat tower, though he's right up there now. And Arwen didn't come up out of the basement when I threw the wash in, so she's still stuck down there. But I hope everybody else had a good weekend. I mean, we had a fabulous weekend. And the kids, for all their whining about the fact that they would have to build their own latrine, because this place isn't hooked up to outside water. And the water is from a big cistern. So it's limited, at least to where I was at, a place where I was at. That bathroom's limited to how many flushes because it's hooked to. What are you knocking over? A cistern from rainwater. So when they're up there, they have to dig a latrine. And I brought them stuff and showed them stuff from my old scout handbooks that, back in the day, especially before World War II, this is what happened at scout camps. If you went for a week for summer camp, first thing you did when you got there is you had to build your own latrine, ditch in the ground. Part of the lashing merit badge used to be building your own seats for it. So instead, I looked up, I know that in parts of Asia, there were things called squat toilets. So it's usually narrow, but a little longer. So I tried to get them to go, look, you need to make it in such a way that you can straddle it. It will make things easier, trust me. So once we got all the juvenile poop jokes out of the way, they actually built it. They actually used it. And they said it's not as bad as they thought it would be. So they learned something. Because sometimes, I said, what do you do if you're stranded somewhere? If you're out in the middle of the woods, you're stranded for, a couple days. You need to do what you got to do. So they learned a new skill. They didn't get all the pioneering stuff done. So we never got the tower done. Because primarily we had 7 kids. We had 3 with amazing focus on the task. We had a 4th one that was back and forth. And then we had 3 others that every chance they could get would walk off. So those 3 were given the job of cutting down stuff. Once we did that, then they started being more involved. It was chilly, but we had so much firewood at our disposal. He wasn't kidding when he said he had plenty of firewood. My goodness, that stack of firewood it's so old that one end of it is starting to rot pretty badly. And it goes for about 50 feet. They got plenty of firewood. But once these kids got told they could cut down birch trees, for us to use for the poles and what sizes we needed for the tower. They actually went and found 4 saplings that were about 14 feet long. They were 14 feet high. So we would have had a great tower. So what we did is we said, don't chop them up, just take the branches off of them. And since we didn't get to it, we know we have these 4. We'll just lay them to the side because we were allowed to camp on the firing range because it's nearer to the barn and it's a nice flat open area. And then that gives us a pavilion to do the cooking and everything at. And so it was perfect place to be camping. So we left all the big poles there, and we let the gentleman whose property it is know what they were for. And then if we can figure out a weekend to get it done in the spring, that we would probably come up and try again in the spring to get that tower built, because they need to do it. It's actual requirement to build that tower for that pioneering merit badge. They can't get the badge without building that tower. And around here, there's nowhere you can go where you could just randomly cut down trees and saplings. But if you're on 80 acres and the wild white birch are invading, they're an invasive up there. They're not native to the area and they're totally invasive. So we can cut down any white birch we want. Hello, CDC. So we also didn't get to. I let them have the prizes that I was going to have. Where's mine? Let me see if I can find it. No. Give me my bag back. Give me my bag back. Come on, get off my bag. There it is. So, since they didn't get to build the chair for the one Scoutmaster to sit in, I was going to do another game with them. They opted to go fishing, and then I was so stiff and slow moving this morning, and so I didn't make it down there. They were already packed up, and I know the other ASM was not about to do this game without me being there because he thought I was crazy. How many of you have ever seen Celtic games where they have the caber toss? Where they have the Scotsman and they've got basically what looks like a giant telephone pole, and they try to hold it and then they flip it. And the idea for caber toss is they have to flip it. It has to flip over and then land. And the thing is to try to get it to land as close to perfectly straight as possible. That's how the point system works. Well, in one of the books I have from the 30s, when I bought that lot of old books from Briggs Auction House last year, there were quite a few small pamphlets in there. One of them was games and competitions for scouts. And lo and behold, there's a picture in there. There's a little drawing of a kid doing a caber toss. Now, I scaled the thing down for the size of our scouts. So it was a 6-foot pole, but it also was only about the size of a softball around, not some big heavy thing. Because we have one kid who had been preemie as a baby, and he's still, even though he's 13, he's still very small. And so I wanted it to be kind of fair for him and the fact that they all are, young. So he would have loved to have done that, but the other ASM, he kept saying, he does this all the time. He still treats these kids like they're Cub Scouts, like they're little 8-year-olds. It's driving me bonkers. And I keep telling them, you got to stop and think that this is different. Scouting is different. It's about giving them opportunities to stretch their limits. We're the guardrails. We keep them safe. There's no reason why we couldn't do a caber toss and do it safely, especially as we had this perfect wide open area where nothing was there, just grass, because the targets were way down there, and our camps, their tents and everything were on the other side, which was the shooting side for rifles. I mean, they did 22s, but then there were higher powered rifles that they would shoot that direction. So you had this nice open space where everybody who was watching could stay in the pavilion where they're safe from. And come on, how far do you think these kids are actually going to be able to launch this thing? So he of course he wasn't about to do it unless I was there, so he didn't do it. But I decided to give the kids prizes anyway. And we had a discussion, the adult leaders, about, I knew who the top three were for the amount of work they actually did on pioneering. And so I said, I'm definitely giving them something, but I still want to encourage the others. So I'm going to give them a prize too, but they're not getting the Batman ones. Mike and I were at Acme, and I realized I didn't have anything for prizes, and they were selling these, Hot Wheels cars. And I'm looking at them, and we're talking about them. Like, you think it would be a bad thing to have it if, we gave him a Hot Wheels car? And he goes, yeah, but I mean, this thing's a huge bin. Which one? And there's 6 of these bins there. And I pick up one, and it's a Batmobile from one of the movies. And, oh, look, here's another Batmobile. Okay, so we start digging through, and then I start finding funny novelty ones. Like, this one is a football helmet. Well, because this ended up being an extra, because one kid got sick and he was heartbroken. He really wanted to go. But when his mom called up about an hour before I was supposed to leave, we were supposed to leave for the trip, and she said, he just can't go. He is running a fever. He keeps tilting his head to the side. And she says, and you can see the lymph node under here is all swollen. You can actually see it. And I went, yeah, no, he shouldn't go, because it sounds like mumps. I don't want that going through the troop, and I don't want it. So no. So he didn't get to go. So that gave us an extra. But yeah, some of these things were, when we picked them out, one of them was a toaster with bread slices sticking out of it that said peanut butter on the van. I don't know why. One was a cupcake. One was a Jello dessert, like a molded Jello dessert with whipped cream and a cherry on top. And what was the other one? There was some other goofy one that was food related. And so, I can't remember what it was. Oh, I'm still missing. Because this odd one is the other one. This one's a VW camper van. And there's somebody sleeping in the back. Their feet are sticking out. But where's mine? So we had these Batman ones. And so the kids who did the most work got the Batman ones. Well, when Mike and I were looking for them, he realized the back of the Batmans, it said like 2 of 5. And he says, we have 2 of them. He says, now I kind of want to look through and find the others. Well, by the time we found the third one, and then he was on a hunt. He was digging through those huge boxes in the grocery store, searching for the other 2. We finally found the last one. So we had all 5 of the different Batmobiles. So I gave away 4 of them, but I thought I had the 5th one in the bag, but I don't see it.
Okay.
There it is. So we started off, we were going to have 10 kids going. One got 6, so that knocked it down to 7. And two, one of them, the parents decided because of the cold that he shouldn't go. And I'm thinking this poor kid's not going to understand anything about cold. When I sent him a very nice letter and pointed out that all this gear I talked about he needed to have, wool socks and all that, he's still going to need for the Christmas tree lot, because it's going to be colder at the Christmas tree lot than it's going to be, because we can't have a fire at the Christmas tree lot. And that shack is barely warmer. So he didn't go. And then one other kid, when he found out about having to do the outdoor latrine, he kept telling his mom, going, no, I'm sure I have a swim meet day that's just not on your calendar yet. I'm sure I have a swim meet. He bailed. So there should have been 10, but I got to keep this one. Now it's a shortened version, but it's the Batmobile from the old TV show. And if we have an extra, then I'm going to make that. I'm going to keep that one. I used to have, when I was a kid, Corgi Toys had put out the Batmobile, and the only thing that I still have somewhere was there was a Robin's motorcycle on a little. It was on a little. It was goofy because it was on a little yellow trailer that you could hook up to the Batmobile. But one brother really liked the Batmobile, and he took that. And then one brother had given me, Corgi made a yellow submarine, and when you pushed it, the periscopes went up and down. And now they reissued it, but they reissued it much smaller. And so I'm still always on the hunt to hope someday I hope to find one of the old ones, which is bigger, and get the yellow submarine back and get the Batmobile back, because they were really cool. Somewhere I have, when they issued some of the cars from Wacky Races, a friend knew I had grown up watching them. And I used to have Penelope Pit Stop. I had Wacky Races flannel pajamas when I was a kid. It was material that my mother got somewhere, and she made the pajamas for me, and I was probably 7. I love Penelope Pit Stop. And somebody made a series of the cars from the Wacky Races. And so somebody gave me the Penelope Pit Stop car. And that should have been in the front bedroom, in the Black Hole Challenge room. But I don't remember finding it yet. Mind you, there's still a whole bit of stuff in there to go through. So maybe I'll still find it. I don't think I gave it up. I'm pretty sure I still have that. There were a couple of things I gave up at one point. Michael surprised me for my birthday because he just had found out. I forget how he found out. It was in a discussion we were having. And we were watching some video, and they showed something about Sleeping Beauty, and they showed Maleficent, but they showed the exact same figurine that I had bought in Disney World in 1984 when I graduated high school, and that was my present, was a trip to Florida and to Disney. And I sat there and I went, man, that's my one regret. And he's like, what are you talking about? So I had to tell him that when I was trying to pay for him to go to the Catholic boys' school, he only had a scholarship the first year. And then mom died. And so I was trying to keep the house. I was also trying to keep him in school. So we managed, but I sold off a lot of stuff of my own that I knew was worth something. And that was the only thing I regretted, was that one figurine. And he surprised me. He found one on eBay somewhere. I don't know how much he paid for it. I'm not even going to ask, but he bought me one. So I have that same figurine back, the same type of figurine back again. Same pose. It's awesome. That just blew me away. So he got that. That was my birthday present last month. And that was really super cool. But there's not much from childhood that I wish I could find again. There's a Milton Bradley game called Witch, WHICHWITCH. But those old Milton Bradley games from the 20s, from the 80s, from like, they're just games from when I was 20, from like 15 to age 20. Those board games are going for crazy prices. And every time I've seen Witch come up, it's over $100. I, I can't do that. So that's one of the things I wish I still had. But we played that game so much. It was held together with tape. And then it got to the point where the tape wasn't holding. And it just finally fell apart. We all loved that game. My friends loved that game. We played it to death. And that's one of the other things. You ever have stuff that you really wish you could find again from when you were a kid? Mine is the Batmobile, the Yellow Submarine, and I had from Matchbox. I had a little the Aston Martin that was in the first Aston Martin that was in the James Bond movies. It was the same Aston Martin. And when one nephew was a little kid, he took it. And he took it home with him. And my sister thought I was nuts and wasn't happy, but I'm like, did he happen to bring it home? Oh yeah, but it's just a toy. It's no big deal. I'm like, no. That's off of my desk. This is a big deal. So he shouldn't have taken that. He was told to leave it alone. Well, when I got it back, a door was broken off, and they used to put rhinestones in the Matchbox cars for the headlights, and one of the rhinestones was missing. So I'm still always looking for that one too. I'd like to have that. Oh my goodness, Lorianne, did you really? Now you have the ghost game. Which one? Do you have the green ghost game? Because I have the green ghost game. I have most of the parts. I think I'm missing some things. Oh yeah, the green ghost, the game that glows in the dark. That was one of my older siblings' games, and I absolutely love it. I claimed that sucker as mine. I also have um it's a bank, and it's one of those things that used to be in the back of the comic books that you could send away for, and my brother Steve used to send away for all that kind of stuff. And it's a lithographed tin haunted house, and it's about that high, and it has plastic roof, plastic door, plastic base. But you put batteries in the base, and if you put a penny or any other kind of coin on the doorstep, and it has two little metal pieces there, it makes the connection for the battery, and a ghost comes out and it grabs your coin and pulls it back in. I have that. Wait, you have a purple green? You have a ghost game that's purple? In the 50s, there was a game by pretty sure it was Milton Bradley, called The Green Ghost. And the whole board part stands about 4 inches off the ground on legs. But the whole board was made out of this new plastic that would glow in the dark. The ghost itself is about that high, and he's on a spinner thing. He glows in the dark. And it is really pretty cool. I wonder if I can find it. Let me find out who, because I know where it's hiding. It's in the living room. There it is. Who made you? 1965 Transogram. That's who made it. Transogram Green Ghost. Let's just, for curiosity's sake, sold and not ended recently. Let's see. What high? Yay. Complete and 100% original. Somebody did a buy it now for $299.95. Somebody else has another one, but it's complete. They've gotten $269. Now these are complete with box. I have the box. The box is not in great shape. And I'll have to take a good look at these pictures that say complete, because I don't think ours is totally complete. Because I don't know if I have all the keys to the doors. Because in the game, there's these little doors you open up, and there's special keys made out of black plastic. And I don't know if I have all 3 keys. So I'll have, but I know I have all the other. Yeah, I have the vulture, I have the cat, the bat, the mouse. So I have all 4. They show 4 keys, but there's only 3 doors. So I have all the token figures. Wow. Oh, they put it. Okay, so there's why I was confused. So the Green Ghost game was put out there was a 30th anniversary edition put out by Mark's Toys. So there's a newer version out. Wonder what the black feathers were for. Mine doesn't have any feathers with it. Oh. Somebody put in a picture of what should be there. So the rubber bands were broken rubber bands. They were these snakes. And then there were odd little plastic pieces that were supposed to be the bones. And the feathers were bat feathers. I don't have any feathers, and I don't think I have any bones or snakes. But that'd be easy enough to replace. I do still have all the other parts, though. I never knew there was a 30th anniversary edition. There are people selling incomplete ones with the original box and still getting over $100. No. Honestly, if I sold that, it would seriously be a regret. That is just too awesome. I used to set it up for Halloween. I used to set it up on the buffet in the dining room as a Halloween decoration because it was just so cool looking. But Transogram, honestly don't think they ever made anything else because I don't ever remember hearing that name. It's like they probably had one or two big things. Now, if you put in Transogram, there's a bunch of stuff that is sports cards. Well, there's a Wild West. Wait, Wild what? The box says Wild Wild West. Is that really Wild Wild West? Oh, there was a game. So the listing just says Wild West Frontier, but the game is for the TV show, The Wild Wild West. I love that show. Game looks kind of stupid and cheesy, but still, that's pretty cool. I love that show. I was such a fan of Artemis Gordon because he's the guy that made all the gadgets. So he's sort of like, with James Bond, you have Q, who makes all the gadgets, and in Wild Wild West, You had Jim, who was Robert Conrad, who was the tough guy, and then there was the other guy was Artemis Gordon, and he was the guy that made all the gadgets. So Transagram also made another glowing game. They made a fortune tarot. It's called Ka Dash Bala, and it looks like a glow in the dark eyeball over an octagon board, also from the 60s. There's a Hogan's Heroes game from them. So they probably got bought out. Looks like they did a lot of trademark stuff. Can't figure out the Hogan's Heroes game. But you play, you what? So it actually has Hogan's, Klink's, and Schultz's faces on the board. That's different. It looks like of the toys they made, stuff was either TV or movie related. Usually these look like all TV, or they were baseball sports related. Seemed to be what Transagram mostly did. There's a Popeye game. What's that one? Mighty Comics Superheroes game. Who were the superheroes? The Shield, the Hood, Captain Flag. I have never heard of these people. I don't know what comics they were. Oh, there's a flying Batman toy. That looks so strange. A Superman one. Laurel and Hardy. Yeah, like I said, what games they have. Boy, that Kabbalah game with the giant eyeball. That just looks really wild. That would be so awesome to have for Halloween. They made a game for the TV show The Monkees. I remember them. I used to watch that in rerun. For those Jetsons fans, there's a Jetsons game. That's funny. Yeah, there's another Monkees. A couple more Green Ghosts. A Wyatt Earp TV show. A My Favorite Martian TV show game. Route 66. That's another TV show. Rat Patrol. Was that another one? Before my time, but all of them of 60s TV shows. Elliot Ness. I remember hearing about that when I've seen clips of it. I was too young to see it. Because a lot of the stuff from the 60s, in the 70s, oh, there's a MASH board game. That might be cool. A lot of them from the 60s were put in. Yes, the Beatles did come out with a new song this year. And I saw the video for it. It's really cool. It's really cool. And Peter Jackson, who directed Lord of the Rings, directed the video. It is a very cool video for that song, that new song that came out. I really love the way they did it. It's such a nice tribute to the Beatles that are gone. It really is. It's beautifully done. But in the 60s, it was kind of the golden age of TV. There was a lot of variety, a lot of different stuff. And then in the 70s, a lot of that, these UHF channels that started, all they did was run stuff in syndication. So I got to see a lot of old TV shows. I vaguely remember bits and pieces of Gunsmoke. And I mean, Hogan's Heroes. I saw a lot of Hogan's Heroes. And then once I got Netflix, I saw all of Hogan's Heroes because I never had seen it. Syndication would not run the black and white episodes. So I have now seen the black and white seasons of Hogan's Heroes and of Gilligan's Island, which I'd missed as a kid because they never showed those. So I'm kind of really sorry to see that go away, Netflix not having the discs, because my list was long. And they were all things that there's no way for me to get them, um, because there were a lot of um, I had a lot of foreign movies, a lot of older black and white movies. Why is it, there we go. And I just have no way to get them. You're not going to find any. I don't think there is anybody streaming them. Some things you can find on YouTube. There's Cinema Cult Classics, which is a YouTube channel, and they show, and they get away with putting some movies up. Though some of them are the teen horror flicks, like, yeah, some of those were so low budget. They're just absolutely hysterically funny to look at now. But they have some of those old, uh, the rash of alien movies or creatures, the sea creature that crashed the beach party. Yeah, they're so goofy. They are a good laugh. They are fun to watch. So, so now I get back to dealing with my own house. The lady is out of her house. I've had a week to recover. I had a fabulous weekend. I can't tell you how relaxed I feel. My blood pressure is lower than it's been in ages being away for the weekend. Being able to be in the woods, and then actually being able to sleep in a bed that didn't make my back hurt. So I'm really thinking that my mattress is also part of the problem. I think my mattress is too old. Because if I sleep in Mike's bed, I don't have any as much trouble. I'm not as stiff, and sleeping in the barn bunk room, that was honestly like a bed and breakfast. It was fabulous. But sleeping there, I also didn't have as much trouble with my back. I mean, yes, I had some stiffness, but not what I'm getting when I'm in my own bed. So, so it's definitely got to be partly the mattress, because that mattress has been my mattress since, when did Mrs. Roberts die? Dad died in 96, and I think she died in 98, because I can't remember if it was before. Yeah, it was after Dad died. So yeah, that mattress is easily over 20 years old, and it was secondhand to begin with. It was out of their guest room, which had hardly ever been used. So I think it's kind of beat. So I slept well. I was warm, not like my own room. Um, so it's done me a world of good. Mike is away all this week, so I have not. I haven't decided what I'm going to do about a sale this month, because I realized in trying to avoid Christmas, my schedule of alternating slams right into Thanksgiving. And this week, I don't know if I'll have enough time to get my act together to have it this week instead. And I'm kind of leery of having a sale Thanksgiving night. So I have to see what I can do about that. Um, Thursday night might just be a work with me live, because I have a meeting that night, uh, that's been at the request of these newer assistant scoutmasters. And I don't know how long that's going to go. It's being held at somebody's house. We're going to all get there and order pizza for dinner and iron out where they're having problems, what they see as problems, that how do we go forward, and they're all coming out of Cub Scouts. So we've got to kind of retrain them in how different it is, a program it is. Now, by having the one with me this weekend, he got to see firsthand a lot of the different ways that I treat the kids as opposed to how he's still treating the kids. And so we talked about that off and on all weekend. So he sees where I'm getting at, that you've got to stop treating them like they're cubs, because they're not cubs anymore. And this is, they don't like it. They're old enough now that they don't want to be babied. They want to have chances to learn and do stuff. And so, because he would have, if he had his way, none of them would have been allowed to touch a saw this weekend. And I'm like, they all have their totem chip. Part of the totem chip is knowing how to work an axe and a saw. Now, if you're not going to let them have an axe, they have to have a saw. You can't cut stuff down without one. They're not beavers. And so they just had a blast. They loved it. Nobody got hurt except his own kid, who thought he could be quick enough. He could just, I hate these fire pits that have this mesh lid thing. They always say, oh, it keeps the sparks down. No, not really. All it does is create a problem for somebody to get burnt. And the kid, there's a loop on the top, and he, before I could stop him, he just reached and he grabbed it, and he thought if he was quick enough, he could just grab it and throw it off the fire so they could put more wood on the fire. And he ended up with a blister burn, second-degree burn here and here, because it blistered up right away. They weren't big. I mean, he was fast, but, and he's trying to tell me, no, they don't hurt. They don't hurt. And I just looked him in the eye and went, stop lying to me. I've had burns that caused blisters like that. I know they hurt. And he goes, yeah, they hurt. But we have stuff. That's one of why you take the first aid kit, the big first aid kit, on every trip. It has special stuff in there just for burns. And I gave him some lidocaine cream to kill the pain. And then that gives this pad that goes over burns time to work. So by today, this morning, he's like, they don't hurt at all. Look, I can do this. And he says, boy, that stuff really works. I was like, yeah, I know. So sadly, I know from my own experience. So we had to have one of those teachable moments where we talked about how can you use your mistake going forward? How do you think you can use that? Well, I know not to do this again. I said, you know it. But what about the kids that weren't here to see you do that? What about those brand new kids that joined in March? Well, what about them? I said, now you have something you can tell them, and tell them from experience. And you can show them your fingers on Wednesday night at the troop meeting. Don't touch hot metal. This is what can happen. See, now you have something that you can teach the others about. You have an experience that wasn't a good one. Now use it. Use it to teach others. Because I think this kid has potential to eventually be a troop guide. He's got a long way to go. But I think by the time he's just turned 13, literally, like, I think a week and a half ago. And I think by next year, he'd be ready to be troop guide too, which is an older scout that helps teach and mentor the incoming brand new 10 and a half and 11-year-olds. So I think if we keep getting him to think things through like that, he would eventually get to the point where he would make a very good troop guide. So we just got to harness some of that energy, because he's real quick to think of stuff, but not think it through. And then he gets into trouble because it's often stuff that either he gets himself banged up or fingers cut, or, or something breaks because he's not thinking it all the way through to the consequence. So we got to work on that. I say that all the time to different kids. There's certain ones that need reminders more than others. Think it through. Think all the steps through to the conclusion. And then if you see where it's going to go wrong, then you have to decide, is there a way that you can make it not go wrong? Or is it then you should just stop and not do that thing to begin with? So they'll learn. A couple of them have figured it out on their own. Most of them are 14 and older. Most of them are the 14-year-olds, I should say. We've only got 2 kids that are older. I've got 2 16-year-olds, a handful of 14-year-olds, and a whole lot of 13 and 12-year-olds. And a small spattering of 11-year-olds. So, yeah. I don't usually work with the kids when they're in the lower ranks, but boy, I have had to this year. It's been a whole fun experience, but this weekend was good. This weekend was really good. So, but I wanted to pop on and let you guys know what had happened. Why I disappeared on Thursday, and so I let you know that in the beginning. If you missed it, you can catch that. I will let you know what's going to go on Thursday. It is probably going to be a work with me, and probably not have a sale this month, which is fine because I really need to catch up. So when I come back then in December, we'll get back on schedule, because I really did try to figure out, that alternating schedule so it would avoid having a sale on Christmas, not realizing that I had slammed one right onto Thanksgiving night. And while that's fine to do a live chat that night, I don't think that's a great night to be trying to do a sale. And I really want to get caught all the way up. And now I have, I think, all the boxes accounted for. I think we found the last 2 earlier this week. Mike, I think, found the last 2. I was still recovering from the clean out. But I need to find my own house, find your guys all your stuff, and so I think it's okay if I don't have a sale this month. So I want to thank those of you who this month there have been a new member. So I have 3 members to the channel that pay memberships. So thank you, Marilyn, Lisa, and where is she here tonight? Where's Nora? Nora's not here tonight. So I have 3 memberships, and I've had 2 super chats, and someone has been very kind and put $5 on, and it just says anonymous, so I don't know who, but they put, oh, there's Nora. Look, it's like saying Beetlejuice. You say her name, she shows up. But someone also put $5 down on the house fund wish list on the Buy Me a Coffee thing. So I thank you very much for that. That gets us a little closer to me getting that wood putty, that special wood putty that I need. Because the cats found me a present today. While I was in the basement taking my laundry down, they followed me down. And next thing I know, I'm hearing all this squeaking, like rodent squeaking. They found a mouse. And we saw where the mouse was getting in. It's the basement door. There's a spot. There's 2 spots where there's a little notch, and it's where the boards meet, and those 2 parts have started to kind of rot. And that's why one of the things I need is that special wood putty. Most of the cheaper stuff is plastic. You can't paint it. You can't really, some of it's sandable, but some of it's not. But you can't hook it, you can't use it on any wood that has already been rotted. So that's kind of a problem in a house from 1911. And the stuff that is good for that, and you can paint it, you can sand it, you can even carve it if you need to match, whatever you're putting it onto. That stuff's $30. So I didn't quite have enough yet. I have half of that. And so somebody put $5 more onto that wish list item, and I but it just says anonymous, so I don't know who. But the only ones that know about that are the people who watch my channel. So thank you, whoever you are, for the extra 5. That puts me a little closer to getting that one. So I'm glad, though, too, though, that these guys have finally done their job and caught a mouse. Because, of course, I opened that door. It goes to it's the wooden door. It's one of it's on a track. So it's like one of those barn doors that slide sideways on a big bar up here. And I opened the door, so they went right in, 3 of them after that mouse. That mouse didn't have a chance. And I looked and I could see, I have to look in the daylight, but I can see a spot where I think the rust has made a little hole on the door frame. Certainly looks like it, but I'm looking at it from the bottom with no light on the other side. So I think I know where they're getting in now, at least one of the places in the basement. So if I can fix that rust spot and then fix the door, they shouldn't get in anymore, at least not through there. Heaven knows it's an old house. There could be other places, but I was so happy these guys all got a TREAT for catching a mouse, because it was Aragorn and Gimli and Frodo, and that sucker never had a chance. Not with those 3. Not a chance. So, and I had to make sure Aragorn didn't get it, because he likes to eat what he catches. At least with moths, anyway. God, that's gross. I will see you Thursday. Watch for the thumbnail. I really think it should just be a work with me and not another sale for me to just have to add to the packing list. I think I should just back off there and not worry about it this month. And oh no, Nora, what? Are you okay with telling us why you were at the ER? If not, that's understandable. Yeah, they don't want to give you, if you're the patient in the ER, they never want to give you water. Never. Drives me bonkers, because then they tell you what a hard stick you are to get blood. But if you're dehydrated in any way, you are a hard stick. Oh, yeah, teeth can be a problem. Michael was having a problem with a tooth, and he didn't want to necessarily have to go away for the week with the one tooth being a problem. And so he ended up going and getting it x-rayed and seeing a specialist before he left for this trip for his training. Oh, geez. You couldn't use the bathrooms? God. I feel for you, because I know what it's like to live near an ER that's crap. They have one of the best burn units in the country, but their ER is crap. Crozier Hospital. So, I hope you feel better now, hon. I really do. I hope you feel better. Move that over so I stop knocking it. So, so I will see you guys Thursday night. We'll plan on it being work with me. And I plan on spending this week packing, moving. I mean, there's a lot. I've still got boxes in the kitchen of stuff from the clean out. So I've still got to go through that. I've got to really knuckle down and pack. The only non-tosh thing I have to do, and I'm not doing it tonight, is I have to do the paperwork for advancement stuff for the kids who worked on advancement skills this weekend, and get it all into the computer system that we share for scouts for the troop. So that way everybody can see, because we have to log in, because they have to participate in so many things for the year. So every scout trip, you have to put it into this system and put in everybody who went so that they get credit for participation. So, and there's other things that require so many camping nights. So again, you need that list. So I need to get all that in there, plus all the updates to the advancement stuff. So I'll be doing that tomorrow. And then after that, I want to focus just on going through stuff that is in the way, which is the stuff that's in the kitchen from the clean out, and then getting stuff packed and out of here. And that's I'm not going to make any other plans for the week other than I know I have this meeting. I have Scouts Wednesday night and I have this Scoutmaster meeting Thursday night. And then you guys later Thursday night. I'm not planning anything else. I won't have as many distractions because one of them is away. And so should be good. Should be good. So you're just getting there. Oh, darling. Yeah, well, I hope it gets better quickly for you. It's no fun when it's your teeth that hurt. It just messes up the whole every day, It just no fun and nothing. And there's so little you can do when your teeth hurt. I kept having a problem along the jawline here, and it was an infection under the teeth. And what helped is the cream that I have for my back is lidocaine cream, but putting some along the jawline actually helped with the pain. I didn't think it would because it was too far on the outside, but it did take the edge off of it. Didn't make it go away completely, but it did cut the edge off of the pain off of it. And having that cream is what we ended up putting on the kid's finger who burned his fingers, because there is this gel stuff you can get, and it comes like a piece like that big, which is way too big for what we needed. So I cut it in half and wrapped one around the thumb and one around his finger. But once it got it managed up and I'm reading it, this stuff can take half an hour to an hour to start to work. And so I was like, wait a minute, that means this kid's going to be in pain. Burns that blister like that hurt badly. And I realized, wait, the lidocaine cream is pain relief cream. So we carefully unwrapped it and I put that on it. He didn't want any of his friends to see him, so he went and hid in his dad's truck and was crying because how much they really hurt. And he's trying to be brave with me, saying, it's fine. No, I know you're lying. I've burnt my own hand like that once. So no. And once he had that cream on, though, within 15 minutes, he was goofing off with his friends and smiling again. So maybe some lidocaine cream, if it's somewhere on your jawline that you can put it, but not in your mouth. Trust me, the taste alone would stop you from doing that. Because honestly, that stuff, even if you wash your hands, it's still, I had washed my hands afterwards and then had done this to wipe something away because it was itching on the side of my mouth, and I hit my lip and I could taste that stuff. It's awful. So I hope you get better, Nora. I hope all of you have a good time this week. I will see you Thursday night. For those of you who are new and checking this out, like and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Follow the journey of somebody who's inherited way too much stuff, who helped with a clean out that she hasn't done in years and ended up with more stuff, and who's now trying to make a living selling it all off. So that's basically it. And having the fun of 5 one-year-old cats running around the house. Though right now, he's asleep. Where's Elron? Well, he's over there asleep. Frodo's up there asleep, and Arwen's still stuck in the basement. So I have to go get a cup of tea and get her out of the basement. So you guys have a good week. I will see you Thursday night. and we'll do a work with me. And I'm hoping I have enough stuff cleared that we can start discovering what on earth is in the pile behind me in the living room or next to me. And if it's up here, we might tackle all this and find out what the heck is back here, because this part of the room is still boxes of stuff from my mom that we don't all like. I mean, we undid one box and we found some of my clothes. So I got to get these into uh packed away. The sweaters I need now, so they need to go into the drawer of the bureau. But I don't even know what some of this stuff is. And if we ever get all this cleared out, those who are members, there is a video for those who are Fairy Realm members that's a sneak peek into my mother's cedar chest. But I've never gone through the bottom of it. So eventually we'll have a day where we can get to the bottom of it, but all this has to go first. So even if the work with me is up here, there's still plenty of stuff for us to see what treasures are hiding in there and what needs to be dealt with. So I'll see you guys Thursday night, and I hope those of you who aren't feeling good feel better, and that you have a good week, and that things go well for you this week. Any projects you're working on, just remember it took time to get whatever way it is. It'll take time to get out from whatever it is. But just keep moving forward, little bits at a time. You'll be okay. You can do it. You can do it. I can do it. We'll make it through all this stuff. So I'll see you all Thursday night, and have a good week.